Good morning, everybody. It is February 6th. I almost said January. It is February 6th, 2022. This is Man Coverage with Knoxville Nate and Mr. James Bonneville. We have a lot to talk about. I realize college football is over. However, it never ends, which is the beauty for us. Good morning, Mr. James. How are you doing today, sir?
Any better be a crime. We just ended the second season of football and recruiting, and now we're moving to the third season of football, which is spring football. So let's ready to go and let's keep it rolling.
We've got a lot to get to today with recruiting, with the portal, with National Signing Day, with obviously the Senior Bowl going down yesterday. We got a lot to break down with that. But I think the first thing that we've got to address is the fiasco going on down on the plains. Let's just, for our listeners and our viewers, let's just discuss basically what's gone down. They ended the season 2 seasons ago. Gus Malzahn, had a decent year when they went 9 games. The powers that be didn't want him around anymore. He had a $21.5 million buyout. They didn't care. They fired him. They wanted to install their defensive coordinator, Kevin Steele, as the head coach. They placed him as the interim tag, but the athletic director, Mr. Green, and the president didn't want to do that. And so they went out and did a coaching search, much to the chagrin of the boosters, the alumni, and so on and so on. And they went out and hired Boise State's Brian Harsin, and he went 6-7. And since and the season, honestly, which is sad, is the season wasn't as bad as the postseason. Since the final game, they've lost 20 players, they've lost 5 coaches. Derek Mason left the program. The defensive coordinator went to Oklahoma State. Mike Bobo, their offensive coordinator, was fired. Austin Davis was hired from the NFL to be the offensive coordinator. He resigned 6 days later. Their defensive line coach, Nick Eason, resigned and went to Clemson. During the season, they fired their wide receivers coach, Cornelius Williams. So basically, that's 5 coaches, 20 players gone. It's a mess. What's your thoughts on what the hell is going on down there, James?
It's funny. When this hire happened, I questioned it from a culture standpoint. I mean, yeah, Brian Harsin had a spell at Arkansas State. Absolutely. But he's not a Southern guy. He doesn't understand Southern recruiting and the culture that's in the SEC and specifically at Auburn. Because I think when people look at coaches, when they get hired, they instantly think of, plug and play.
Yeah.
But the school culture and the coach's culture got to match. Otherwise, you got a storm on your hands. And it's just not going to work out. I mean, quite frankly, when the Washington job opened up, Harsin's got relationships with Peterson, and Peterson's still very connected in Washington. I really thought he was going to leave, and Auburn was just going to kind of like wash their hands and say, let's move on. That did not happen. Now, I don't know if they're going to fire him this year just because it's that awkward time period, because then Auburn's really got to overpay for somebody, and who's going to want to grab a job after signing period, unless you're going to really bulk up after spring practice transfers. And I mean, they could do it. And there's some names in the back of my head who I think would be a great fit. One of which would be a fantastic fit, who's done these type of rebuild jobs. But what are your thoughts, Nate?
I think he's done. I think these people never wanted him to be the coach. I think they're having meetings right now. In fact, I know they are having meetings right now discussing getting him out of there. And I just don't see how you come back from this. I mean, what are they going to do? Go 12-0 next year and then everything's fine? I mean, that's not going to happen.
No.
They weren't in a good spot before all the turmoil. And now, players have come out and said they don't like him, that he's an asshole, that the treatment of players has come under question. Some of his coaching philosophies have come under question. And I think there's a big push to get him out of here. And do I think they should? No. But I think at this point you kind of have to, because what are you going to do? You're going to bring this guy back and then have this in the back of your mind all throughout the season. I mean, they're already down. Bo Nix is gone. Is he the greatest quarterback in the world? No. But he did start there for 45 or 15 years. So he was a veteran. He's gone. They don't really have anybody behind him except for Finley.
Well, Zach Calzada, but I mean, how much do you find Zach Calzada? I know I don't.
I like Finley better than Calzada, which is not a big endorsement of Finley, but I think they're in big trouble. I've heard the name Chadwell thrown around, that they could potentially go out and get Chadwell and bring him in, go out and get the coach from Coastal Carolina. And, whether or not he would leave at this point, I don't know. But I think they're going to try and make it happen. Now, $21.5 million to get rid of Malzahn. Some of that's being paid for by UCF, not all of it. To get rid of Harsin at this point is $18.3 million. Does the money matter, James?
Well, I mean, at this point, I mean, you're kind of screwed if you do and you're screwed if you don't. Because, sure, it's a lot of money, and it is. I mean, let's be honest. The normal humdrum fan ain't going to be ponying up for this buyout. But with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, what does the new SEC look like from divisional standpoint? I mean, I have seen some recommendations of moving Auburn and Alabama to the east and have Texas, Oklahoma, and Missouri play in the west. And yeah, that could probably benefit both of those teams really well, but you don't know. And quite frankly, you got to live in a year-to-year environment. And I think I got a better name for you, actually two, that are better than Jamie Chadwell. And I love Jamie Chadwell. First and foremost, Matt Rule. I think the NFL experiment is just not working because I don't think he's really a true X's and O's guy. I think he's a CEO type, which has become the du jour of college coaching. And he did a fantastic job in rebuilding and retooling Baylor very quickly after the Bryles debacle. And I think he could come into Auburn and really set a culture that could really get back to the Pat Dye era of what they were. And another name, which is kind of the in vogue offensive coordinator, is Rhett Lashley. I mean, look at what he has done everywhere he's been. I mean, especially this year at Miami with Tyler Van Dyke. I mean, their offense looks infinitely better than it did before. And I mean, I think he's a good fit.
And I love both those guys. I just don't know if either one of those guys will take the job right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Rule, as much as I thought he would get fired and as much as I thought he would be done in Carolina, they didn't fire him. And for whatever reason, they're bringing him back, I guess, because he's got so much G-Jack, so much guaranteed money in his contract. So they signed him to a 7-year, $70 million deal when they hired him in Carolina, which I thought was ridiculous at the time. And I'm a Matt Rule fan, college Matt Rule fan. So I don't know, but I just think he's going to stay at Carolina for this year. I think he's going to get fired at the end of the year because they have no plans at quarterback and they have no real superstars to fix all their issues. So I think they're in big trouble, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to figure out. Apparently Harsin's out of the country, which I think makes this all even worse.
Oh,
because they're meeting, discussing his future, and he's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And he's fired back some responses. I think he did an interview with ESPN and said all this stuff is false. He said that that none of this stuff is true. And you know what? It doesn't matter if it's true or not. At this point, it's out there. At this point, it's been said. You're guilty under the public opinion. And, I think you're almost better not saying anything right now instead of trying to rush to defend yourself. I think it almost looks bad doing that. But,
Well, I can guarantee you SMU fans are cringing when I brought up Rhett Lashley's name because they're instantly thinking about what happened with Manny Diaz being the head coach at Temple for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and then he went back to Miami. I mean, but Auburn's desperate, and I think they're going to have to pay through the nose, kind of like Michigan State did after D'Antonio left.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to have to. Money's going to have to be no object. I mean, that's just a fact. They're going to have to pay Harsin to get the hell out of there, and then they're going to have to overpay to get someone to come in there, because not only is this a disaster, but we're already past National Signing Day 1 and 2. We're already past recruiting. We're already past all the transfer portal players are pretty much gone.
Well, so I mean, you still got spring ball. I mean, there's going to be those guys that are going to leave after spring ball when they realize they lost their position. But
that's true.
I mean, it's
true.
not going to be the bumper
most
class.
Most of the big names are locked up.
Yep.
I mean, that's my only point. Most of the bigger names are locked up, and it's just not the best timing for all this to go down, in my opinion, for them. But absolutely. I hate Auburn, so I'm kind of glad and I'm kind of happy. And I hope it gets worse before it gets better. And I hope they go 0-12. So that's what I think about that. And, we'll see what happens. But I don't see him. I don't see the point in keeping him on. I mean, this has already gone down. The coaches have already left. The players have already left. What are you going to do? Come out and release a statement that we're behind him 100%? Everyone's going to know that that's BS.
Yeah.
And they're not going to buy that. So I don't see the point in doing that.
Agreed.
We'll figure it out. It is a fiasco, and it's fun talking about because I love to hate the Auburn Tigers.
Well, it's the drama of the offseason. I mean, let's be honest. I think, quite frankly, Scott Frost has got to be pretty happy right now that he's not a number one king of the hill guy that's on the chopping block. So, I mean, someone's talking about someone else right now.
Yeah, and, that's I can't believe he survived. I mean, let's be honest. If Scott Frost wasn't a national championship winning quarterback at Nebraska, does he still have his job there right now?
I think he's a cat. Quite frankly, the guy's got more lives than the cat right now. I mean, I think Trev Alberts being the AD there probably helps out because they've got a relationship. But heck, I mean, why does he bring his mom back as his offensive coordinator? Because that was his offensive coordinator in high school. I mean, he's just running through guys left and right. And I look at their roster right now, and I don't see it. Sure, they brought in a ton of grad transfers, but I just don't see it. I don't see them finishing any higher than 5th, maybe 6th in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, I don't either. And Martinez is gone. And, what do you think about them at quarterback? I mean, Martinez, I didn't think was their problem.
No, I mean, Graham, Martinez had some issues, but their offensive line did no help for him because whenever he got pressure, he started floating the ball over the middle, and that's when the picks began. I mean, his strength is his running game. They should have RPO'd him a lot better and get him to the outside and bring those safeties up, and I think you could have helped him out a lot more. But, I mean, him going to Kansas State, working with Colin Klein, I think is a godsend. But Caleb Thompson, I mean, and Chuba Purdy, I mean, who wins that battle? I don't know, but they're not going to be better than 4th in the Big Ten West. I mean, mark it down now. I just don't see anybody. I mean, they're not that good of a team. And you got people out there saying top 25. And I'm like, unless there's a different roster than I'm looking at, that ain't possible.
No, I don't think so either. So we'll see. But I do think some teams have helped themselves this past week. I mean,
absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about the transfer portal first. Let's be honest. Everyone's, pretty much been sitting on pins and needles, waiting to see where this guy was going. We wanted to know what was going to happen with the number 1 overall player in the portal. That is Caleb Williams. He is going to USC. He's following his coach. I think we all kind of thought that would happen. I think there were some smoke screens thrown up that he was potentially going elsewhere. I know we thought that he might follow his girl. We thought he may go to UCLA. We thought he might there was some rumors he was going to Wisconsin, which I never believed. But he's going to USC, and he's following Lincoln Riley, and we'll see what happens. Is him going with coach? Is that enough to put USC in the driver's seat in the Pac-12?
Well, I don't think in 22 that's possible. I mean, they just don't have enough players. But you look at that 23 recruiting class. I'm not gonna lie, Lincoln Riley's built something there. There is some serious talent coming in very shortly, and if he follows that Pete Carroll model of locking down Southern California and use about 4, 5, 6 scholarships to really focus on some high-profile talent nationwide, I think realistically you could make an argument that 2024, 2025, SC better be playing in the college football playoff. Otherwise, the Lincoln Riley experiment could have been a failure. Now, do I think they're going to fire him? No. But I mean, the shot clock is on for Lincoln Riley. I mean, they've got. I mean, USC's got receivers, no questions asked. But they got to strengthen that line of scrimmage play, and on both sides of the ball if they're going to really take it to the next level. But Caleb Williams is a special talent, and I mean, it's going to be a war because he wants to be 1-1 in the next year's draft. And you got Bryce Young, you got C.J. Stroud. That's a tough order to haul. But we will see because Lincoln Riley has done more with other quarterbacks than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's worked wonders. I mean, look at the track record as of late. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, anyone that doesn't think this is truly amazing is kidding themselves. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. The Spencer Rattler experiment didn't really go as planned, but it's not like he was awful. It's just that Caleb Williams was better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it came down to. I mean, I didn't think that Spencer Rattler was horrible. He was actually winning games. It's just they weren't winning in their customary, 40, 50-point blowout fashion.
Yeah.
And that's why, that's why he lost his starting job. That's why Caleb Williams was inserted at the start as the starter. And to be honest, if Caleb Williams had been starting from the beginning, he probably wins the Heisman Trophy as a freshman.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I mean, the one thing that people don't put into consideration on Spencer Rattler, and I'm not as big a Spencer Rattler fan as some people are, but there was a statistic I heard by Pro Football Focus talking about his pressure rate was at least, was it 3/4 of a second quicker than what you saw under Murray and under Hurts and under Mayfield. And I'm sorry, 3/4 of a second in football is a lot of time. And if you're getting that much pressure that quickly, you're going to unload much faster. And that's why you didn't see them going as deep last year when he was in there. And because he's not as mobile as Caleb Williams, plain and simple. I mean, he's not Kyler Murray, who is incredibly fast. So I think him going to South Carolina is going to be a good fit for him. I mean, what does that mean for South Carolina? I don't know, but I think this is a good move for both programs as a whole.
Oh, I do too. I mean, let's be honest. That was a home run for Coach Beamer in South Carolina. Getting Spencer Rattler, a guy that has already played, a guy that was the #1 recruit in the nation out of Arizona, by the way, James.
Yep.
We left that one out the other day. Arizona's putting out some big-time talent. That guy, Rattler, whether or not, he was as good as advertised, he's still a good starting quarterback in this league. And hell, South Carolina won 7 games last year with a graduate assistant out there playing quarterback half the time.
Exactly.
So you put Spencer Rattler on the Gamecocks roster, and you're talking 9, potentially 10 wins coming out of the East. And do I say they win the East? I don't know about that. I don't think they can overtake Georgia at this point, but I definitely think they can contend with Kentucky, with Tennessee, with Florida, and potentially be the second best team in the East in the SEC. What do you think?
I think that's a little early to say that quite yet because I just don't think they have the Jimmys and the Joes to pull that off. But I definitely see an upgrade for them. I mean, one thing that just kind of popped in my head, I think, and this was announced before Spencer Rattler even went to South Carolina, is Jeff Lebby being the new OC at Oklahoma. And let's be honest, it would have been even worse for him to have stayed because I don't think he fits a Jeff Lebby type of offense unless they don't want him to run. I mean, and they were going to completely take that out. And Lebby likes his quarterbacks to run the ball. I mean,
look at Matt Corral last year versus Tennessee running the ball 40-plus times.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to run those guys, and Spencer Rattler doesn't want to run.
I mean, that's why I think them getting Dylan Gabriel, I mean, not only does he know the offense, but it just really fits as a whole. So, I mean, I think it was a very intelligent, mature move for Spencer Rattler to move on to a system that better fits him. So,
yeah, I agree. And then, with Caleb Williams coming in, we got to talk about the guys going out.
yep.
So, Lane Kiffin complains, bitches and moans and whines about the portal and about the NIL and claims that it's all just a big free agency right now. And then he goes out and uses the portal to get the second best portal class of any team. And he pulls in, Dart and Trigg from USC and uses some of his West Coast connections to go out there and get Jackson Dart, to get Trigg. And, now they don't have to put, their Altmaier out there and see if he's ready to go. They can put Jackson Dart out there, who I know can play. I mean, just look at these highlights. This guy can sling the ball. I mean, I know USC wasn't great last year, but I mean, they fired their coach after game 2. It was kind of like a lost season, in my opinion. But this guy did nothing but help himself and improve his stock as the season went on. And taking his big tight end Trigg with him to Ole Miss, I think is going to be huge for the Rebels. What do you think this does for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss?
Obviously, it helps out their quarterback situation a ton. I mean, Luke Altmaier, I think, is going to be a good talent, but he needed work, and that showed in the bowl game. And
he wasn't ready.
No, he wasn't ready at all. And honestly, I think Jackson Dart is really going to learn a lot from the Lane Kiffin mindset and get on that Lane train, because he's almost become the new Steve Clarkson of the world. He's a quarterback whisperer. Yeah. And I think he could do a lot to calm down Jackson Dart's playing ability, because he's a little wild when he plays. Like, he is all over the place, and he showed his freshman capabilities last year. I mean, sure, there were a lot of games he really threw up some stuff, but then he would do some really dumb things that freshmen do. But I think he could really calm that down. But I mean, heck, you look at the rest of that class. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, Ivy, Triggs. I mean, there was a lot that Lane Kiffin could hang his hat on and really say, as much as he was making fun of the portal king in Brian Kelly, I mean, he quietly put together an incredible roster for next year. And I'm honestly, I'm looking at them right now, and I think you got to put him third in the SEC East walking into next year. And that's strictly because the 1 and 2 are just that darn good.
In the SEC West?
Yeah, SEC West, excuse me.
No, I agree with you. I like Jackson Dart. The more film I watched on him this weekend, the more I liked him.
Yeah.
I felt like defense and the line of scrimmage was really the biggest problem that USC had. I mean, watch this guy throw the football. Him throwing the ball was not the reason, that they had the record they had.
Well, I mean, their receiving core is insane. And
Drake London, I think, is one of the best receivers I've ever seen come out of there.
I mean, name me a time when USC, even in their worst of times, didn't have some crackpot receivers sitting out there on the sides. I mean, they just – I mean, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, and USC's got receivers. I mean, you can just put it in the bank.
Their receiving core is nasty. Actually, that's what I thought about more. I mean, I loved the film I saw on Jackson Dart, but when I saw Trigg, when I saw Washington, when I saw Greg Bryant Jr., when I saw Drake London, I was like, damn, they've got, 2 or 3 NFL receivers on that roster to go along with this quarterback who's pretty damn good. I mean, I understand now. I guess I kind of understand more now why the coach was fired, because they should have won more games with this talent that they possess.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, the USC's line of scrimmage play, you go back to the Pete Carroll or John Robinson days, that's where they work. And if you give their quarterback time, they're going to pick you apart, because they're just they recruit at a different level than everybody else in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll see what happens with that. But I definitely think Ole Miss and, as well as USC have both helped themselves with the portal. And we're going to talk about recruiting in just 1 second. However, we need to discuss some breaking news, because this makes me happy. We found out that old Jimmy Hairball really wanted to go back to the NFL. He wanted to use this freak activity of a decent season that team up north possessed this year in Michigan. They had a good season. I mean, let's be honest. They had 7 or 8 fifth and 6th year guys, mainly on the offensive and defensive lines, that were, because of the COVID year, allowed to stay for 10 years. And it really helped them win some games. But it seems like a free-for-all after the year. I mean, McDonald has already left and gone to the Ravens to be their defensive coordinator. And now we learned today, 47 minutes ago, that the offensive coordinator, Josh Gaddis, is
wow.
Michigan. He's accepting the offensive coordinator job at the U, not Minnesota, but Miami, and he's gone. So here we are sitting on February 6th, 2022, and Michigan has lost both their coordinators. Their head coach was begging for an NFL job and had to go running back to Ann Arbor with his tail between his legs when nobody offered him a job. What's going on in Ann Arbor, James? And did you see this? Did you see this coming?
I did not.
Leaving?
I did not. Honestly,
I didn't either.
Okay, I don't have any inside information. This is me just spitballing here. But I got the gut feeling now by seeing this that Josh Gaddis, I think they had a side deal that Harbaugh was going to take the job with the Vikings, which honestly I did not want to see happen at all. After what I saw happen at San Francisco, he would have been with a new GM at Minnesota. It would have been a train wreck. And I think that Josh Gaddis was the coach waiting there at Michigan up in Ann Arbor to be the next head coach. And once he realized he wasn't going to get it, he was looking out. And Miami, I got to take my hat off to Mario Cristobal because I know he was having a hard time looking for an OC, and bringing in Josh Gaddis. This is a home run hire for the U.
I agree. I mean, Cristobal is making moves down there. I mean, he's bringing in players. He's not only getting talent, but he's also now really, really killing it with his coaching staff. And I'm very impressed with him and what he's done in a short amount of time down in Miami. And I think, Gaddis proved last year that he can play call. He proved, in my opinion, that he can put together game plans, and not even with superior talent. And so I think that this is a good move for Miami. I think that he's got something to work with Tyler Van Dyke and some of the weapons that they've recruited and also signed off the portal. And I think that Miami's going to take a step forward in the ACC because they finally have some real leadership in Mario Cristobal.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I'm waiting to see who Cristobal hires as their offensive line coach, and the guy's name is escaping me right now, which was his personal friend down in what's his name? He was his personal friend growing up in Florida, who was his O-line coach out at Oregon. I cannot remember the guy's name. If he could bring him back with him, this could be really interesting because that guy was pumping out offensive linemen like nobody's business. And honestly, I think that would be, you bring him in, that offense, I mean, that coaching staff is going to be sick. Absolutely and utterly sick.
I agree. And it looks like we've got Curtis Grant on the line right now. I'm going to pop him on. Let's see. Curtis, can you hear us?
It's Tim.
Hey, how's it going today, Curtis?
It's going pretty good. Just sitting here trucking on I-81 North, headed up to PA.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you joining us, even though you're on the road. We were just talking a little bit about the recruiting that went down, and we remember, you're one of my favorite players of all time. So I remember them signing you on signing day to out of Virginia to play for Ohio State. We just wanted to get your thoughts and your memories about signing day and the reasons you chose to go to the great Ohio State University.
Oh, yeah. Back then, I mean, it was a lot of fun. Recruiting was a lot a lot of fun for me just doing the fact we got to travel and meet a lot of different people and meet a lot of the players. And I chose Ohio State because of Coach Tress and Coach Fickle. And Ohio reminded me of Columbus reminded me of Richmond, but on a bigger scale. It was a little bit more faster paced, a little bit bigger area. And it was just once I always wanted to play in front of a big crowd. So I chose my top schools were basically if we could win a national championship and playing in front of a lot of people.
Hey, Curtis, this is James Bonneville. Hey, question for you. I know, coming out of the culture you had working with Coach Kane at Hermitage, was Coach Johnson your first recruiter at Ohio State? And, was it tough being from Virginia not to go to UVA? Because I know they were one of your finalists going down the pike. I mean, what was your thought process and going into that whole thing?
When you say Coach Johnson, which Coach Johnson? You talking about Taylor
Larry Johnson? Larry Johnson.
Well, Larry Johnson, when he wasn't even thought of when I was there.
Okay.
Larry Johnson was he came.
Oh, that's right. He was still at he was still at Penn State. That's right.
Yeah, he was still at Penn State. It was more so of. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, was it tough? I mean, being from Virginia and playing at Hermitage for Coach Kane, was it tough not going to Virginia? I mean, I understand your thought process and playing on that big stage and playing for a natty, but was it tough to leave your home state in that respect too as well?
Yeah, I mean, at one point it was just due to the fact of that's all I knew. So when they started recruiting me, it was like, oh, okay, this place is cool, And being from Virginia, I didn't understand the recruiting process. Nobody ever explained it to me. So when I got the offers from Virginia and Virginia Tech, I went there first, and it was like, oh, this place is nice. This place is nice. But then when you start going to your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Ohio States, places like that, even I went to USC, and you start seeing, okay, like this is a whole nother ball game. But then you look at where can you win at? I mean, my thing was I wanted to win a national championship. So at that time, I didn't think, Virginia or Virginia Tech could provide me with that. Not saying they were bad schools. It was just that, during that time, I was like, this is where I think I'll be a good fit and we can win.
Yeah. No, and it definitely worked out. That 2014 season, was something of magic, and everything, ended up working out. You guys just really killed it in the college football playoff, taking down Bama and then beating Oregon in the national championship. Just tell us what it was like, Curtis, and your memories of playing in the college football playoff and what it was like for you to live that dream and win a national championship.
It was pretty fun, to be honest with you guys. It was just like we had the opportunity as a team to get closer together, just having a lot of time to prepare, and then really getting to know, really seeing everybody step up, because during the season it's more so you got your starters playing, and maybe one or two people might get in for extra playing time and get some reps, but when you have all that time to prepare, you get to see some of the young guys flourish, and then they get the opportunity to get in and play on special teams to relieve some of the guys that do a lot of playing on offense or defense. So I mean, that was always a big plus, for the playoffs. And we got time to get healthy and get to know some of your teammates a lot better. And so it was a grind because Coach Meyer had us in there. We was getting ready to play Bama. We was practicing their stuff, and we was doing a lot of film watching. And when it came down to the playoff times, the captains, we made a decision to cut out, after certain times of being at those places in New Orleans, or if it was Dallas, not a lot of free time of going out. It was more so hanging out with your teammates because, as a senior class, we wanted to win the thing,
Definitely. Hey, after the 2014 Virginia Tech game, when you guys lost, I mean, one of the things I keep going back to is not only your ability, but really, I think something a lot of people don't know is just your leadership qualities, which you obviously took into your professional life as, with your work on as president of, was it Buckeye Freight and Logistics?
Yeah, Buckeye Freight Express. Yep, that's my
Yeah, Freight
trucking
Express.
company. Yep.
Yeah. What was it like in the locker room after the game for you guys to come together and pull this all together? I mean, I think the it's really underrated, your leadership capabilities and what you and the other teammates did that really capped that season off after that really tough loss at the beginning of the year.
When you take a loss, it's really not like a loss. The way we look at it is, as players anymore, we were trained to always look at it as a learning lesson. And so what I mean by that is you go back and see where you had your mistakes at, and then you correct them. So for us, we went back, learned what we needed to learn. Offense, learn how to go against a bare front at that time, and learn that a lot of people was going to play us man and do different things. So that also gave the coaches to open up their minds and see, like, okay, maybe we could use this type of scheme this week, because at this point we didn't see everything thrown at us. And so, as captains, it wasn't no more playtime. I mean, it wasn't playtime in the sense of when it was time to work, we worked, and when it was time to have fun, we had fun. But we always made sure we were locked in and continue to make the game fun, even though we lost. But, sometimes when you get too uptight about stuff and not looking at the big picture, like we looked at it as, okay, well, we still got another game to get better. And so that's what we did. We use each game to become a new level of success until we got to the national championship.
Yeah, no, and you guys definitely did that. And Curtis, something I wanted to ask you was, I mean, obviously playing at Ohio State, there's that pressure to win every game. And, that to me, I think would be one of the hardest things, in playing at a big time school like that is the pressure to, win every single ball game. And is that something that, you guys had to deal with throughout your career there?
I didn't deal with it. And look, I knew my guys that I was going to war with every weekend was going to be ready. So I never had to deal with depression. Maybe the coaches dealt with depression, but as a team, only time I think we got dealt with pressure is when the game was close and we started seeing people make mistakes that they usually don't make. That's the only time I think we really had pressure. But majority of the time, we went in the game, knew we was going to win. and we lost. And if we was lost, we shocked like everybody else. Like, how we lose? Then you go back to the game. I'm just being honest. It sounds cocky, but the guys I played with, you got to look at. Most of the guys I played with that was on the team, they captains in the NFL with big contracts.
Exactly.
So what does that show about the recruiting? And the guys that were recruited there were recruited by either my class or the class behind me.
Yeah.
So that tells you from those 2 years that they chose some great people to put on the team to be able to keep the team going, to keep that pipeline going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
Yeah, no, there's no doubt.
Yeah, we got you. Hey, I know there's probably a lot of games you probably remember from your time at Ohio State, but one where I was personally at was the 2014 Snow Globe game against Minnesota, where it was snowing and cold outside. And I remember walking to my seats and seeing Bucknut walking around, and he literally looked like he was freezing himself to death. How was it playing in that Snow Globe game? I mean, heck, I remember Dilly Bar Dan having a Dilly Bar before the game, and Urban Meyer walking by him, and his eyes were wide open, like, what in the heck did we just walk into? What was it like to play in that game at Minnesota in 14?
That was probably one of my worst games ever. Just due to the fact, man, I was so cold. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't care how I graded out. I was so cold, it was just to the point where it's like I lost all mental capacity to be locked in. There was nothing that anybody could tell me. I'm just being honest at this point. I've graded out so bad. I mean, we won, but I graded out so bad, and just got to keep the team up. And everybody was just looking around like, man, these people crazy. I don't know what's wrong with them. I mean, people out there with cutoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, no shirts before the game. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, at this point, I'm not even intimidated. I'm just like, bro, how stupid are you? Like, at this point, I'm not even scared no more.
And like for Minnesota, that wasn't even a cold. I mean, I could probably name, like they were trying to say it was like blizzard conditions. I'm like, if this is a blizzard, I don't know what a blizzard. I mean, we must get like, the apocalypse then. I mean, it was, I felt so bad for some of those fans because it looked like they were like living in an igloo during that game.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to think about them teams up there. You got Wisconsin, you got Minnesota. Those are different types of cold. And I don't. That's something that you got to get used to. Like, you just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
I was just telling him, I was like, bro, how crazy that he actually back then to actually think it was cool to go outside in some tights maybe and a cutoff. Like,
yeah.
What was cool about that? Or no shirt? Do you really start thinking like, you don't do stuff like that no more? Not at all. Like, what was wrong? Like, what made you think that was cool back then?
There's no doubt, and that's crazy. But hey, Curtis, I just wanted to get your feelings, man. I know you probably still watch, the Buckeyes and pay attention to them, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on this past season. With all the freshmen out there and all the young guys getting playing time, I was pretty impressed by the way this team came together and was able to, win that Rose Bowl championship. What were your thoughts?
Oh man, it was awesome. It started off a little shaky. I just didn't understand why some of the stuff was going on, what was going on.
Yeah.
But just having those young guys get those reps, that's the most important thing, man, is just coming in and being able to compete. Because like you said, when you're a younger player, you're just trying to figure out where you fit in because you don't, like Coach Drayton used to tell us, you don't know. And what that statement basically is stating is that when you coming in, you don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Whatever you learn in high school is cool. Whatever somebody tell you to do, you do it until you learn what's going on. So to see some of those freshmen step up and just play fearless is awesome, as being an alum. Because I know that's not easy when you come in and you got to guard a 2 first-round picks receiver, or you got a running back over there that's supposed to be going first 3 or 4 rounds. And, with the talent level, you go in, you see these people crushing people all the time, and you got to go in there, you're like, what? I either got to crush him or he going to crush me, So,
yeah.
Sometimes as a young guy, that's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
But, hey, once you get used to it and get a couple of reps, you get hit under the chin a couple times, you just keep getting back up, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
To kind of follow up with that, as you get older and you get more wisdom with age, what advice would you give to new coaches, new players coming in, just based on what you went through, that you could help them out moving forward?
My biggest thing is, especially on the coaching piece, because I love coaching, and I love helping people, as you guys can tell. My thing is, a great leader knows how to reach everyone in the room. And I think a lot of times coaches get caught up in, in the recruiting process. Sometimes I think get caught up in the media. I don't know what it is because I'm not in the room with them.
Yeah.
Or taking the stress off, of maybe another coach or something like that. Because, they get in heated conversations and everybody, get into different things. But my thing about being a coach, and I always explain this to other people, is when you tell somebody or you go to someone's house and say, hey, I want your son, to me it's your obligation until that kid sees something, until you see otherwise in that kid, to do your best to make that child a man through that process. And what I mean by that is that's just teaching them about life. Everything ain't got to be about football, but I feel like if you can reach somebody like in the off season and teaching them different things about life, those kids will go out. Prime example, all those kids that play for Larry Johnson, nobody has nothing to say, nothing bad. Now, that's just one example, and it's because we talk about it. Nobody has nothing bad to say about Larry Johnson. You can go anywhere in the United States, you mention the name Larry Johnson, people's eyes get huge.
Yeah.
And it's because he knows how to reach everyone in the room. Even the players that's not the best, they still love him because they feel like he has done something to fulfill their life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and he gets top notch. He gets top notch effort out of. I talked to him the other day. I told him I would pay to come watch him coach because his guys, no matter if they're good or bad or potentially on their way to being good or walk on, whatever it may be, they go hard for Larry Johnson, and it's a reason why. And it's a reason why Larry Johnson has a lot of people get drafted.
Yeah.
And it's because he knows how to reach them. He looks at them other than football players.
Yeah.
And they play their ass off for him.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. And, Jonathan Cooper got drafted by the Broncos last year and had a tremendous season. And then, Tyreek Smith kind of flew under the radar and had a couple sacks yesterday in the Senior Bowl. So the hits keep coming for him. And, we just remember your career, Curtis, and we're so lucky to get to see you play and enjoyed every minute of it. And we love seeing you having success off the field too. And we appreciate your time today. And we wish you all the best moving forward, buddy. Okay.
Oh yeah, appreciate it. And then also for the players, don't pick a school off of a big name. Pick a school that's gonna fit your style of play.
Yeah.
And that's what we see a lot of kids too. They picking schools because, they Bama or they Ohio State. That's cool. But they might have 6 running backs that's 5-star that's there. Yeah, you can compete, but at the same time, that scheme might not fit your play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's all my 2 cents for today. I appreciate you guys having me on here. I'm going to keep on trucking along here and make a little money for the family.
Absolutely.
You do that, Curtis. Be safe, man, and we'll talk to you again real soon, okay?
I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good one.
All right, Curtis. Have a good one. Bye.
All right.
Wow. That was awesome. That was awesome. As you know, Curtis Grant's one of my heroes. So that was really cool for me to get to talk to him today. And, this is a guy that played, was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school in Virginia, played football at the highest level at Ohio State, won a national championship. And then he played in the NFL for quite some time and played for the Giants and played for the Titans and played for several teams. And now he coaches football and also, as you mentioned, has a very successful trucking company, which he's working at right now, moving some stuff up I-81 and took the time to talk to us. So I thought that was pretty cool. I hope you enjoyed it, James.
Absolutely. I think that's one thing a lot of people don't get is like the coaching they get, and Curtis nailed it on the head, is, it's more than just football. These coaches are teaching these guys about life. And you could see, especially with Coach Johnson, I mean, it's Larry Johnson, whose son was a top 5 draft pick. Yet people talk about the coach and the impact that he's had on their lives. I mean, players come and go, but the relationship and the impact those people have help them culturally in what they do, not only inside football, but outside in their professional life. And you could definitely tell he does that for his customers and his employees on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, there's no doubt, man. He's a really, really nice guy. Was a great player and has proven that, hard work and dedication can not only, serve you well on the football field, it also can serve you well in life still, which is kind of cool to find out because, sometimes, you work hard for something and it doesn't always pay off. But, he has proven that you can still get it done if you do things the right way. And I love hearing that. So that was cool getting to talk to him and getting to hear some of his memories from recruiting and also from winning titles and playing in big time games. And, I wanted to talk to him about the recruiting piece because, we still had National Signing Day going on. And, we talk about these teams that, are trying to get better. And we talk about, Bama still killing it, Georgia killing it, Ohio State obviously still killing it. But one team that, wasn't really projected to be the number one team with recruiting is Texas A&M. And they were able to get Shamar Stewart, sign him up on February the 4th, and pretty much put a big red bow on the number one recruiting class. What do you think about what Jimbo is doing down there, James? And what do you think about Shamar?
I'm a big fan of Shamar as a whole, as you well know. Quite frankly, there was a statistic brought up that at every position they recruited, they got one of the top 8 guys in the country at that position. There's a reason why this is the greatest recruiting class of all time. And anytime that's happened, where they finish number 1, they win a national championship over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
So now expectations. They've won recruiting season. Now they got to pull it off the next level and get a national championship in the next 4 years. Otherwise, they're going to view the Jimbo era as a failure. And that whole national championship with the nameplate with nothing on it is going to look really foolish in retrospect.
Yeah, I mean, just watching this guy right here, this guy is a difference maker. And
yeah,
I know in 247 he was rated as the 9th overall player. You know what? I saw the number 2 rated overall player in Walter Nolan, who they also got at Texas A&M. But I think this guy is the one that really buries the needle for me. I mean, he's 6'6", 6'7", 285 pounds. Look at him. I mean, he looks like an NFL player out there playing with middle school kids. And, this is a dude that can play on the outside. This is a guy that can be, pushed down inside to create some pass rush on third down. There's just nothing that this guy cannot do. And I think that this guy is a home run hit for Jimbo. The only problem with this recruiting class is the expectations. Like you mentioned.
Completely.
That's the only problems because, you nailed it. You got the number 1 class in the country. You got all these great players. But now you got to do something with them. And, this guy's done it before. I mean, people forget he won a national championship at Florida State. But he had Jameis Winston at quarterback, who is one of the best college football quarterbacks, whether you like him or not. He had one of the best college football careers at quarterback that anyone's ever had. And, I'm not sure he's got that quarterback, but he's got the lineman to get it done.
Agreed. And honestly, if there the comp I keep giving to Stewart is JJ Watt.
Yeah,
I had to get the Watt brothers figured out in my head there for a second.
No, he looks like JJ Watt.
He does.
He plays like JJ Watt, the NFL JJ Watt, in my opinion.
Correct. I mean, heck, I go back to his days at Wisconsin the same way. I wish he was opened up his hips a little bit better. Because he's a great straight line guy. He's got a great twitch off the line of scrimmage. He sometimes gets a little high in his stance when he goes up against that. Potentially, I could see him being a D tackle because when you're that big already and you look at his size, he can actually add on another 20, 30 pounds, maybe even 40, and move on to the inside with Nolan. And I mean, can you imagine that combination of those two guys sitting between the guards? I mean, it would be lights out. I mean, he could still play there, but I don't think he can put on much more weight on that unless they're going to go to a 3-4. What are your thoughts?
No, I think so. I mean, I think you could see both these guys potentially starting at some point this year. I mean, Clemens is gone. He's out. I'm trying to think. I could see both of them starting by the middle of the year potentially. Mm-hmm. And I think with the biggest part about this is the versatility that you've got with Stewart. Like I said, he can play inside, he can play outside. And I think Nolan is more of an inside guy.
True. Yes. But
you could put this kid, on the inside or the outside. And this just makes a very formidable defensive line. And, our esteemed colleague, our boy Rico, he loves him some Tyree Johnson, and he had a tremendous season. He's coming back and should be there to help out with this team. And I think that this defense could be one of the best in not only the conference but in the entire college football.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I really see that, and their only issue is going to be on offense. What can they do on offense? Can they get enough scoring? Can they get enough points to win games? Because their defense is going to hold the other team pretty low on a consistent basis.
Agreed.
So we'll see what happens. But, Jimbo was pretty pissed that everybody's saying that he's buying all these players. And he was interviewed this past week, and they asked him, point blank, did he buy these guys?
I consider it a slap in the face or whatever when there's these thoughts out there that
Very.
it's because a lot of money is being spent and just your thoughts.
Here's what
on
I'm going to say, and this is point blank. This is point blank because here's my problem. There is no $30 million fund. There is no $5 million. There is no 10. This is garbage, okay? And it pisses me off that people, and here it comes from a site called Bro Bible by a guy named Sliced Bread. Then everybody runs with it. So it's written on the internet as gospel. How irresponsible is that? I'm going to tell you, there's some very reputable writers in college football and sports that wrote it and have said it and have done things. That's unbelievable to me. When I first heard it, I laughed. I said, oh, yeah, what a clown. I mean, I didn't even think anything of it because I don't have social media. And it kept building, and lately I've heard more about it. To me, it's insulting to the players that we recruited that's why they would come here. You ever been to a game here? You ever come to school here and see the education? You ever talk about the 12th man, the Aggie Network when you're done? There ain't a better university in this country. And it's insulting to what you say. And all these, and we got writers who have said it and done it off Sliced Bread. A guy named Slice who made it up.
Sliced bread. Sliced bread. You know something, Nate, we gotta find Sliced Bread and get an interview with that person because that would be the best interview in the world. I mean it.
I would just like talking to him and saying, hey, Slice, what do you think about Jimbo's comments, saying that your article's crap? And this is funny. You're going to sit here and tell me that none of those kids got any money to come there? I mean, Don't lie to my face, because I know that some of these kids got money, and I know that's part of the reason that they're coming to your school is because they got paid. So don't sit there and tell me that all these, accusations are 100% false, because A, it's not even illegal anymore to pay them. And two, they've come out and announced it themselves, some of these players, that they got NIL deals. And that was part of the package to come to A&M.
Well, what's funny is there's one person in particular who, let's be honest, just has a way of getting underneath people's skin. You may have known him for his time at Bloomington Jefferson and USC as an offensive coordinator and various other places throughout the time period. But October 29th at Kyle Field, Ole Miss is going to play Texas A&M. And don't kid yourself, there's going to be some comments made before the game. That game's going to get personal. And as Lane Train always likes to say, get your popcorn ready, because that's going to be a fun game. Yeah, that's going to be a very personal game for everyone. So whatever you got going on, cancel it. October 29th, I guarantee it's night game. I guarantee you College Game Day, unless something crazy happens, is going to be there, because lock up the women and children and hide the beer, because that's one's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool. He went on in that interview to talk about, Lane Kiffin. He doesn't specifically, say his name, but he goes, a lot of the people, calling us out and complaining about us are the same guys that are going out and using the transfer portal. He was saying that they were talking about how the transfer portal was free agency and that these schools are just paying money to get these kids and all this. And he's like, this is the same guy that's posting pictures of himself flying around in a private jet, toasting champagne with these kids, pulling Jackson Dart out of USC. So, I mean, everybody's doing whatever they've got to do to get these kids to sign on the dotted line. It's an arms race right now in the SEC West. There's no doubt about it. And if you're going to want to compete with Alabama, you better sign the number one class in the country, because
Absolutely.
My God, they've got, 5 stars waiting to play that have never even touched the field. So you better go out and get Shamar Stewart if you want to stop the Alabama run game. And if you want to compete with Bryce Young and everything that he's going to bring back to the table next season.
Hey, and, A&M's got to go to Bryant Denny next year. So, October 8th. October is going to be a fun month.
Yes, there's no doubt. And there's going to be There's going to be a nice game in the opener, which I expect to see you at. We're all traveling up to Columbus, Ohio for the college football opener as Notre Dame Fighting Irish, former Buckeye Marcus Freeman brings his team to the Horseshoe to play the Scarlet and Gray. So we're all going to meet in Columbus for that one, and I hope you'll be able to join us, Mr. Bonneville.
I'll do my best.
All right. Well, great show today. I think it's worth noting one more time that not only has McDonald left the farm in Michigan and gone to the Ravens, but their offensive coordinator, Josh Gaddis, has also run as fast away from this program as he can and is taking the offensive coordinator job at Miami. We broke the news at the beginning of the show. And, God, I just wanted to say it again because it was pretty cool to have that come out while we were on the air. But great interview today with our boy Curtis Grant, linebacker, national champion at Ohio State, and pretty cool breakdown of the Auburn fiasco and nice portal wrap up. We didn't get into the Senior Bowl like we wanted to, but a couple minutes. What did you take away from the Senior Bowl weekend, James?
I think there's a lot of players that really improved their draft stock. I mean, everybody's going to talk about the kid out of the end out of Oklahoma and Winfrey, but honestly, there's some other slighter names that never got as much talk. We talked last week about Boye Mafe out of Minnesota. I mean, the athleticism just oozes off of him. He's a great player, and I think he improved his draft stock. Christian Watson, receiver out of North Dakota State. I mean, if you've not watched North Dakota State game, give it a look because they're a real program. And there's a reason why they keep winning 1AA titles year after year after year. They can come to play. And Watson, I think, probably moved himself in that 4 to 6 range getting drafted. Really good on the outside. Plus the safety we talked about last week from Baylor, which, I mean, I'll let you talk about him, Nate, because I know how much you like him.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to note that he was my pick to be the guy that really stood out down there in Mobile, and he got it done, man. I mean, there's no doubt that he was one of the best players all week long. So I will take, I admit when I'm wrong, but I'll also pat myself on the back when I'm right. So I want to give him some credit for what he did. He played well in practice all week and played pretty well in the game. It was his running mate, the other Baylor safety, that got the interception. But, Petrie played really well all week long. And then I do want to give a shout out to the USC transfer to Tennessee, Velus Jones. He played pretty well. There's Tyreek Smith we just saw getting a sack, the defensive end out of Ohio State. Didn't have the best week in practice, but got a sack in the game. Was not impressed with any of these quarterbacks, to be honest. I know Pickett went 6 for 6 and, did okay in the game, but, he didn't blow me away. I think he will be the first quarterback taken in the draft, but that's not really saying anything with the rest of these guys. And my final point would be I know I'm staying in the Waco area. I must be moving in with David Koresh or something because I really liked Abram Smith, the running back here that scored the touchdown. Abram Smith had a hell of a game yesterday, carried the ball 11 times and really, I thought was one of the best looking running backs all week long in practice, and then had 11 carries for about 50 yards yesterday in the game. So I like that guy as well.
Well, hey, 2 more I want to throw in there too as well is Penning, the left tackle out of Northern Iowa. I mean, if he definitely solidified his first round status. This kid's got a nasty disposition. And if you saw any of the practices, Tyreek Smith wasn't liking it. I mean, this is a guy who plays through the whistle and is going to drive you through the freaking core of the earth. And he is going to be a great addition to any team in the NFL at left tackle coming through. And then Lucada at Penn State. I mean, the kid was living in the backfield so much, you might as well have a mortgage.
Yeah. No, he did look pretty good. And I was pretty impressed with him. The defensive linemen really seemed to come to play yesterday. And it's hard to block these guys when you aren't sure of what the hell you're doing. I mean, they learned this offense, in 4 or 5 days max. And so it's hard sometimes on the offensive lineman. But I thought that the D linemen showed me something with not only their effort, but also their ability to get after it yesterday. And that was London, the guy from Kentucky, getting after it, causing a fumble there. He also had a sack. So I think it was a good showing. I think some of these guys really helped their stock, and I think they'll improved some of their positioning going into the draft.
Absolutely.
Well, all right. Well, that was a lot of information, and I enjoyed this show immensely. I loved getting to talk to Curtis, and once again, I loved getting to talk to you, Mr. Bonneville. It was a tremendous time. I appreciate all your research, all your hard work, and for you showing up today and bringing your A game.
Hey, the Two Deep's got to show up too,
I love it. I love where your head's at, and I can't wait to get after it. We're going to have some more stuff, hopefully another great guest and some additional breakdown information coming at you next week as well. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. This is Knoxville Nate and James Bonneville, Man Coverage. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and have a good rest of your weekend.